Sunday morning, what are we going to be talking about? What are we going to be talking about? We've done morning, first week of this month, third week, I believe, and also last week we had Dr. Olumide Emmanuel, also share with us about morning. But this particular Sunday, I want to talk to that person who thinks that because of what he or she may have done in the past, because of the mistakes that you may have made, then you are not eligible for God's blessings. You know that you've done some things wrong. There are some things you wish you could, go back and do again if you had the opportunity. More like turn back the hands of time. And you are dwelling so much in that past mistakes that you aren't seeing what is ahead of you. You aren't seeing the opportunities, the blessings that are ahead of you. I know what they say, that when your eyes are laced with tears, you cannot see the sunlight, right? So if you're that person this morning, you are the one I'm talking to. If you are that person this Sunday morning, you are the one I'm talking to. It doesn't matter what may have gone wrong, what you may have even done, the mistakes you may have made, the wrong decisions you may have taken from the 1st of January up until now, or even 2023, 2022, 2021, or as far back as whenever it was. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter what didn't go well for you. One of those Sundays I got a message from someone who said he's an electrical engineer and then he's over 50 years old and he just needs to know what to do to make the rest of his life better. And I was really glad in my heart, not just because I received the message, but because someone somewhere has realized that it doesn't matter how much time has passed, 50 whole years plus passed. He knew that he could, from this moment, turn around the tide of his life and make something of his life. So if you're that person this morning who is losing hope, losing faith, you are the one this conversation is for particularly. Or if you know someone who may be in that space where they are not sure they can get by anymore, they've resigned to what life has thrown at them and they just want to let's just see what happens until time has passed. I don't want you to be that person this morning. Because the truth is, you are seeing yourself through the lens of your mistake. But our Father in heaven sees you through the lens of His grace. Did you hear that? You may be seeing yourself through the lens of what you may have done wrong in your past. But our Father in heaven sees you through the lens of His grace. And we have tons and tons and tons and tons of examples we can refer to of people who seemingly did not do well, but somehow God turned their stories around. Is somebody with me this morning? And if you're that person who you think that, you probably still have an opportunity to make something of your life, but the news you hear in your ears, what people say to you, are not encouraging enough. So it could be your colleagues at the office, could be your parents, could be your siblings, could be your friends. They may look down on you so much that you can't find it easy looking. I know these things. It's not easy. You're in a bad place and you know it. And you're saying this morning, it's not easy. It's not as easy as you are saying this. I've made some tough decisions. I've made some wrong decisions that will affect the whole of my life. I will not recover from this. Or you are that person who perhaps at some point in your life as a young lady, you made some interesting decisions and then you have a child and now you want to get married, but the really good men that should have gotten married to you can't find themselves settling with you because you already have a child. And you are looking at that child with sadness in your heart. If you are that person this morning, I've come to announce to you that failure is not final. And in fact, you haven't failed. You have just defined the situation you went through as failure. It's not an end, it's just a bend. It's not. So you haven't failed in the true sense of it. If you look at it from the right perspective, you have not failed. Because what you term as failure may be what everybody can see, but there are many people who are going through what others cannot see, and they are in worse positions than you are. So I need you this morning to shake it off and tell yourself that my back will not be on the ground any further. That the situation that I was in will not define me. The fact that you did business, you thought you were making the right decision and you invested money in that business and you lost the money, it doesn't define who you are. It doesn't. So the same you that lost that amount of money can still rise from that situation and make so much more money than you ever imagine. I mean, we know the story of Dr. Lumide Emmanuel, the sermon we heard last week, how a number of years ago, he was in debt. He lost so much money, he was owing so much money, in billions. In fact, EFCC arrested him according to his story. Who would have thought that such a person would turn around today and be the one teaching people how to be financially successful? As a matter of fact, as a pastor, a couple of members of his church who had started the church with him did not believe in him anymore, that they were going to get out of the church. So let's even imagine for a second that those were the guys who were the financiers of the church. They were the ones that were making things go on in church. And then they woke up one morning and said, "Oh, Pastor, we can't do this anymore. Because you probably are not practicing what you're preaching." But look at him today. Look at him today. I recall one day my boss sat me down, some time ago, and he said, there was a time when he was owing so much money. So much money that majority of the money that he makes every month goes to paying debt. He was owing billions of naira. And every month, as money comes in, you have to pay to debt, pay the bank, and pay this person and pay that person. And every other week I had to report to EFCC office just to ensure that, let them know I didn't run away. I can bet that not many of you have such stories where you are in such grave level of debt and you can come out of it eventually. I'm sharing these stories of people who we can relate to let us know that even in this environment, there are people who have gone through stuff and have come out of it. And yours will not be the first, neither will yours be the last. But your own situation may just remain with you if you keep dwelling in that state of pity party, in that state of hopelessness, helplessness. You may need to just dust your standard this morning and say, I may have been in a bad place, but from today henceforth, things are going to change for me. Because nothing is going to change until you decide that from now, things are going to change, are going to begin to change for me. And that's the truth. Nothing will change for you until you decide that in your heart. Nothing will change for you. One thing you need to understand, that the principles that govern everything in life apply to everybody, irrespective of persons, irrespective of gender, irrespective of age, irrespective of race. It doesn't matter where in the world you are. So being blessed, being financially prosperous, being successful, being healthy, having a good family and all those things are not exclusive to some people. If you know what it takes, you can enjoy those things also. So everybody makes mistakes in life. Everybody. There is nobody in this life that would say, I've never made a mistake. If you are that person, call me up this morning and tell me, Yemi, I've never made any mistake in my life. So there is nobody. So yours is not going to be the first. Yours will not be the first. But the interesting thing is, God is not even looking for perfect persons to work with. God isn't looking for perfect people. He wants you that think that you have it not settled, you are not qualified. And if you go to the scriptures, we would see tons and tons and tons of stories of people who did not have it all put together, yet God used them. Yet God used them. I think we should even mention a couple of people so that you can understand that your situation is not as worse as it is. So we're going to talk about Jacob, who was a selfish deceiver. I mean, the first time I read that story, I thought, why would God use this person who maneuvered his way, who did, guru to the answer? Why would God use such a person? But the same person is the Israel that we will talk about today. So you may feel that you must have control over things around you, and for that reason you take wrong steps, you manipulate people and all those things. It's in your past. Just like Jacob, you can still be useful to God. You can still be useful to God. One story that a lot of us like to identify it with, forgetting that at the beginning it was not so rosy, was the fact that Joseph really, really wanted to lord it over his brothers. If you look at it critically, he wasn't just sharing his dreams with them. He was bragging. He was telling them that they were going to bow before him. How will you feel if your younger brother, if the last born of the house is telling you that one day you bow before him? Just imagine it for a second. Just imagine it for a second. So that same guy who was a proud and pompous guy, who his father even sold for a coat of many colors, because the truth is, the brothers must have noticed that the father preferred this one over the others. So they are not liking him was somewhat justified. So you're that person and you have such a high shoulder pad on your shoulder, and you feel you're better than others, and you lord it over other people just because of one thing that even is not yours. That's something that God gave you in the first place, and then you are using it to carry shoulder up. But that same Joseph is today the example we use whenever we want to talk about patience and wisdom, and forgiveness. Are you getting me this morning? The same Joseph. God did not look at how he had misbehaved in the past. God still used him. God still used him. Or even Moses, who was indeed trying to do something good, but the method he used was not so good. He was trying to achieve justice, but he went about killing people. And that same person who was a murderer is the same person that led God's people to freedom. The same person. Have you killed someone before? Okay, scratch that. I mean, I don't mean to answer. But I will assume that you've not even killed anybody before. So you're thinking God cannot do anything for you. See someone that was a murderer and God still used him. Until today, we still mention his name. Till today. Are you getting me, somebody? So your situation cannot be that bad. It can't be that bad. It can't be that worse. It's just your interpretation of what you've done, how you're going to move forward, that is affecting you. So my challenge to you this morning, what I've come to do this morning, is to tell you to wake up from that self-doubt, self-judgment, and begin to see yourself through the prism of God's grace. Because that's what God has come to do. Jesus has come to do for you. He's come to give you life in abundance. In abundance. Is somebody with me this morning? Another popular guy was David. Interesting story. Interesting story. I still wonder what God saw in that guy so much that, of course, we know, he was a worshiper of God. He loved God genuinely. But this thing guy strategized how someone's husband was taken to the front of the war, and then they finished him. He was lustful. We could trace the death of the husband to David. But the same person repented wholeheartedly. No other person in the Bible has a whole 150 chapters in his book. No other person. You can imagine. And this same person went ahead. He raised money to build a temple for God. What have you done that is as bad as what David done? What David did? I don't know. I really don't know. I really, really do not know. And if you're saying, okay, well, your own case is not the case of you did something bad or something. Your own case could just be self-doubt. Self-doubt that you are too young, you can't be this, you can't be that. God cannot use you. As in the case of Jeremiah. But guess what? God still used him. He still prophesied. He prophesied. God used him. If somebody will make this money, I've come to tell you that your case is not too bad. The situation you are in is not the worst you can be in. Even if you think it's the worst you can be in, it's not worse enough to not let you get out of it and begin to make something of your life. Or maybe you are that person who you did something wrong at your place of work, and for that reason they let you go. And right now you don't have a job and you don't think anything good can come out of you. Hello? Something good will come out of you. Something good will come out of you. You know what they say about Bethlehem, where Jesus came out from? But Jesus came out of the place. So something good can come out of you also. It doesn't matter how bad it is, something good can come out of you. Listen to me this morning. Ask yourself, why am I too concerned about what people will say? Because many times that is the biggest problem, what people will say, because they know stuff about you. So you've condemned yourself, you've judged yourself by the, there's this imaginary jury of people that don't even think about you. They are going about their own lives, trying to make ends meet. You have this imaginary jury and you can hear their voices in your head telling you that, oh, you did this, or you are this, you are not good enough, you don't have enough credit, you don't have enough grade. Stop it. Stop it. Many times we worry about what people will say about us so much that we do not realize that these people we are worrying about don't even remember that we exist. They are going about their lives, doing what they want to do, surviving also. And it is when you grow up to a point that you realize that this would not even send you in the first place. You just wasted your youthful age where you're supposed to have enough strength and energy to work and make something of your life, worrying about other people. Worrying about other people. I've said it time and again on this show that no matter how ashamed you are, see, carry that shame, put it in the bag, put it in your back, and do what you have to do despite the shame. Do not let shame stop you from doing what you have to do in your life. Do not let shame stop you. Don't. Yeah. See, there was a lady, Mary Magdalene. She was once possessed by demons. And that same person was recorded in the Bible to be the first person who saw Jesus after he resurrected. The same person. She could have been ashamed. She could have stayed in her house and not show up anywhere at all and just be hiding. If she wants to come out, she'll watch, nobody's passing, nobody's coming. Then she'll run. Buy what she wants to buy and run back to the house. But that same person was the first to see Jesus Christ when he rose, meaning that she was not shy. She wasn't hiding herself. She went by her life. She was bold enough to want to see the Lord Jesus Christ. She wanted to see what happened. So tell me what it is that is your problem this morning. And let me show you that problem is not problem enough. And that problem is not problem enough. Or one of the Baba of them all, Apostle Paul, as we know him today. But this guy, you know how he persecuted people of God? How many followers of Christ that he himself had killed? Just think for a moment that you were Saul and you were the one that was persecuting people and destroying the lives and properties of people who were following Christ. And then as it points, you eventually then saw that, this is the way to go. And you yourself then become an apostle and begin to preach the gospel of Christ. See, for some of these guys I've mentioned this morning, your story is not up to 1/10 of their stories. But it was recorded that God used them to do something great in life. The same way I want it to be recorded at the end of your life, that God used you to do something worthy in life. Because many times we don't remember people, but we remember what they did. And that's one of the reasons their names will never go out of fashion. We remember Jesus Christ today because he gave his life for the salvation of humanity. Are you getting me, somebody? We remember Jesus Christ for that reason. See, won't come home and talk about people that there are people who will never forget around this environment. I was talking to a friend yesterday and he said something, he said Obasanjo's internet. And I just smiled because this guy, or this Baba, isn't president anymore. He's been out of office for donkey years now, but they are still referring to as Obasanjo's internet. So if you let your mistakes of the past, if you let shame, if you let whatever it is you decided to cook up, self-doubt, withhold you from doing what you're supposed to do with life, from making an impact, many years from now, nobody will remember you existed. So even if you're going to make mistakes at those things that you have in your hand, because so many of us have beautiful ideas in our hearts, but we'll just let them die artificial deaths. Even if you're going to do them poorly, still do them. Even if you don't do them, but still do them. I've said this over and over and over on this show, and I'll bring this sermon to a close, the conversation to a close in a couple of minutes. I've said it over and over and over, that you are not here by mistake. You are not here to count bridges. You are not here to add to the population. You are not here to eat free food and go. You are not here to even get married. That probably is not your reason for being alive. God sent you here because he has a grand purpose for your life. So many years ago, before you were born, there was going to be a problem that would happen at this stage, at this time. 10, 15, 20, 30, 40 years from now, that God knew in his infinite wisdom. And he thought, okay, so who's going to solve this problem? Let me send my son. And he just, Nkechi, it's time for you to go to the world. And then he sent you here to fix that problem, to create that solution, to write that book, to build that house, to take care of that person, to help that person in need, to preach the gospel, if that's the call, to set up that business, to teach people, no matter what it is. So you are not here by mistake. So the earlier you stop second-guessing your own capacity to be something great and start doing something about it, not worrying about how much disadvantaged you may have been. Or some of us will read that, if I was in the US or if I was in Canada or UK, God wants you to be here. That's why you are here. If he wants you to be in Canada, he will give the opportunity for you to go there. So far you are not there yet, you are still here. Make something of your time here. Do something useful with your time here. Do something useful with the little resource that you have at your disposal. Because you may be thinking, I can't do anything because I have so little. It is not your resources that makes you useful. It's your capacity to be resourceful. It's your resourcefulness that makes you useful. It's your resourcefulness that makes you useful. So I challenge you this morning. Look within yourself. Speak to yourself. And tell yourself, I'm going to stop being this pity party. I'm going to stop it. I'm going to stop this self-doubt. I'm going to stop this whatever it is, even if it is externally influenced. You're going to stop it. Cut off all those things. Stay away from people who talk down on you, who don't think you amount to anything. Stay away from them. And begin to do something, no matter how little it is. I'll close just in a couple of seconds with this story. It was an Hollywood film I saw recently. And the lady, a teacher, she didn't have a job. She didn't have anything. She would apply. They won't take her. And what did she do? She started teaching people online. She would put up her phone on a tripod stand and she was teaching. She just created a YouTube channel free of charge. And she was teaching people. Just teaching children how to speak well and all those things. And that was the big break God used to turn her life around. Yeah, it's a movie, but I believe it was the reality of someone that was turned into a film. So it doesn't matter what it is. Yes, your excuses are very, very valid, but they are not sufficient. And I pray God will help you in Jesus' name. I pray God will help you in Jesus' name.